I swear, I have never seen metal bend like that. It wasn't melting. It wasn't snapping. It was groaning, straining under a pressure that should have split the station clean in half. And in the center of that chaos stood Aara. The alarms were shrieking, a piercing digital wail that made your teeth ache. Crimson warning lights flooded the sector. The containment shield had failed, total washout. 50 students were trapped behind a blast door that was folding inward like wet paper. But Aara didn't even blink. One of the new hardworlders. She wasn't just gripping the manual override. She was the override. Her muscles locked. Sweat steamed off her skin. Veins stood out like steel cables beneath impossible strain. She was holding back a catastrophic pressure wave with nothing but leverage and relentless grit. Thorn and his warrior clique stood frozen, staring, because in that moment they understood something terrifying. All their combat drills, their polished forms, their flashy armor meant nothing against someone who simply refused to let go. But it didn't start with explosions. It started with lunch. Ethalgard Orbital Institute was supposed to be the pinnacle, chrome corridors and starlight ceilings so polished you could see your reflection judging you. When the first hardworlder transport docked, everyone gathered to watch. Vaughn was there on the mezzanine. We all were. We expected monsters, hulking brutes forged by high-gravity worlds that tried to crush you every second you lived. Instead, Aara walked out, compact, dense. Gravity had wound her tight like a coiled spring. The tension wasn't loud. It was quiet, like the pressure shift in an airlock. The established species, especially the warrior castes like Thorns, thrived on hierarchy and ritual. And here came newcomers who didn't know the steps. They didn't try to conquer. They simply refused to leave. Vaughn noticed it first in the simulation chambers. The hardworlders weren't faster. They weren't flashy. They just didn't get tired. While the rest of us were gasping after 3 rotations, Aara and her crew were just warming up. That unsettled the elite. Thorn took it personally. It boiled over in the central commons. I was there, tray in hand, when he stepped up to Aara. Big, armored, looking to make an example of her. He threw the first punch. Fast, lethal, meant to end things instantly. Aara wasn't there. She didn't strike back. She shifted slightly. A fraction of a step. A minimal turn. Thorn swung at empty space. He unleashed a furious barrage, burning energy like a failing thruster. And Aara just breathed. She didn't escalate. She didn't retaliate. She let him exhaust himself against her endurance. It was a war of attrition fought without violence. Thorn grew sloppy, humiliated. The room shifted. Students stopped craving a fight and started noticing fatigue. Then, just as Thorn wound up for a dirty strike, administration drones descended. Zero tolerance, they called it. The headmaster looked ready to expel the entire hardworlder delegation. But Vaughn wasn't convinced. Later, buried in the data stacks, he uncovered time-stamped messages. Bets placed by Thorn's clique. It had been a setup. He was about to upload the proof when the station screamed. What was supposed to be a drill turned real. Gravity failure in Sector 4. Containment protocols shattered. Simulation became survival. Everyone ran for escape pods. I did too. Then I looked back. A dozen students were trapped behind a buckling bulkhead. The metal howled like a dying animal. The autolocks were dead. That's when Aara moved. Not toward safety. Toward collapse. Her team followed without hesitation. She grabbed the manual override wheel, a massive iron crank meant for hydraulics, not bare hands. Air pressure tried to slam the door shut, to crush everyone inside. Aara planted her boots. The floor plating dented beneath her. She roared, not in anger, but in raw exertion, and held the door open through sheer willpower. While she bore the weight of disaster, Vaughn hijacked the station displays. Every screen lit up with the truth, the bets, the setup, the evidence. Thorn saw it. We all did. But it wasn't the screens that changed everything. It was Aara. Her nose was bleeding from strain. Her arms trembled violently. But she did not let go. She held that door until the last student crawled through to safety. The silence afterward wasn't heavy. It was stunned. The sound of an old worldview collapsing. The administration had no choice but to reverse their accusations. Thorn stood in the assembly hall stripped of rank, forced to issue a formal apology. The warrior clans bowed to endurance specialists. And Aara? She just nodded. No celebration. No triumph. The next morning, the cafeteria felt different. Vaughn sat openly with the hardworlders. The awkward force fields between groups had weakened. Younger warrior caste students drifted over, curious about gravity training. Outside the viewport, twin suns rose over the planet's rim, flooding the room with gold light. That's when it hit me. The terrifying power of a species that simply outlasts hatred. They didn't defeat us with weapons or politics. They just stayed standing until we realized we were lucky to be standing beside them. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.